Have you ever felt like you don't quite belong? Like the world is moving fast, but you're standing still, unsure of where to go. This is the story of Ulrich, a man who has everything: intelligence, wealth, and opportunity, but seems to lack the one thing that gives life meaning: purpose. It is the summer of 1913. The Austro-Hungarian Empire is still standing, but cracks are forming. People sense that change is coming, though no one knows exactly what. In Vienna, a man walks through the crowded streets. His name is Ulrich. He is 32 years old, well-educated, wealthy, and respected, but inside he feels nothing. He watches the world around him. Politicians making speeches, businessmen chasing profits, lovers whispering in cafes. But he does not feel part of it. Everything seems distant, as if he is watching a play rather than living a life. Ulrich has tried many things. He has been a soldier, an engineer, a mathematician, but each time he feels the same emptiness. Nothing holds his interest for long. He is not unhappy, but he is not happy either. He simply exists, and so his journey begins. Not an adventure in the outside world, but an exploration of the mind, a search for meaning in a world that seems to be losing its own. But can a man without qualities truly find himself? Ulrich lives in Vienna, a city full of life, ideas, and contradictions. It is 1913, just before World War I, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire is still holding itself together. But change is in the air. The old traditions are losing power, and new ways of thinking are emerging. Some people are excited about progress, while others are afraid of losing the past. It is a time of uncertainty, and no one is sure what the future will bring. This uncertainty is not just in politics. It is in the way people live. Vienna is full of thinkers, dreamers, and leaders, but many of them are trapped in their own illusions. The rich attend grand parties, pretending the world is stable. Writers and intellectuals debate big ideas, believing they will change everything. Politicians make speeches about the future, but their words are empty. Everyone is playing a role, but few truly understand what is happening around them. Ulrich sees all of this. He watches how people act, how they speak, how they pretend to know what they are doing. But to him, it all feels false. It is like a stage where everyone is performing, but the play has no real meaning. He cannot believe in their ideas, their emotions, or their dreams because they all seem shallow. Even love, which should be deep and real, feels artificial to him. People fall in love, but their feelings change quickly. They say words of passion, but Ulrich wonders if they truly mean them. One day, Ulrich is invited to be part of a big project, something called the Parallel Campaign. The government wants to celebrate the emperor's anniversary with a grand event. The idea is to show the greatness of Austria-Hungary, to prove that the empire is strong. Many important people are involved: politicians, artists, scholars, all trying to decide what this celebration should be. Some want to show military power, others want to focus on culture and history. But as they discuss, it becomes clear that no one really agrees on anything. They argue, make speeches, and try to impress each other. but the project has no real purpose. Ulrich is asked to help, but he does not believe in the project. To him, it is just another illusion, another empty idea people convince themselves is important. Still, he decides to stay involved. Not because he cares, but because he is curious. He wants to observe these people, to understand how they think, to see if anyone is truly different from the rest. As he spends time in these meetings, Ulrich's doubts grow stronger. He sees how people try to appear wise and powerful, but in the end, they are just as lost as he is. They are pretending to build something great, but they are only creating words, not reality. This world of illusions surrounds Ulrich, and he feels more disconnected than ever. He is searching for something real, but everywhere he looks, he finds only performances. The question remains, can he ever find meaning in a world where everything seems to be just an illusion? Ulrich has always felt disconnected from life. He is intelligent and capable, but nothing holds his interest for long. He has tried different careers, military, engineering, mathematics, but none of them gave him a true purpose. Now, as he observes the political and intellectual circles of Vienna, he sees the same emptiness in the people around him. They all act as if their ideas are important, but to Ulrich, it seems like they are simply playing a game. They create projects, write books, make speeches, and hold meetings, but in the end, nothing really changes. It is all just words, empty and weightless. The parallel campaign, which is supposed to be a grand celebration of the empire, is a perfect example of this. It is meant to bring unity, to define what Austria-Hungary stands for. But no one involved can even agree on what that means. Some want to show military strength, others want to focus on culture, some argue for tradition, and others push for modern ideas. They spend hours in discussions, but the campaign remains vague, without a clear goal. The more Ulrich listens to them, the more he realizes that they are not looking for real answers. They simply enjoy the act of debating, the feeling of being important, the illusion of control. This frustrates Ulrich, but it does not surprise him. He has always suspected that most people live inside illusions, believing in ideas that have no real substance. But what is the alternative? If everything is just an illusion, what is left? He does not want to simply accept these empty games, but he also does not know what else to do. He is searching for something real, but he does not even know what that means. At the same time, Ulrich starts thinking about the way people live their lives. Most people follow a simple path. They grow up, get a job, start a family, and follow the traditions of their society. They do not question it. They do not wonder if there is something deeper, something more meaningful. To them, life is simple. You work, you love, you build a future. But Ulrich cannot accept this kind of life. He sees too many contradictions, too many unanswered questions. Love, for example, is supposed to be deep and meaningful, yet he sees how quickly people change their feelings. A person might be passionately in love today and completely indifferent tomorrow. People claim to be loyal, yet they betray each other. They say they value truth, yet they lie all the time, to others and to themselves. Even morality, which is supposed to be a clear guide for how to live, seems uncertain. One society believes one thing is right, another believes the opposite. People act as if they know what is good and what is evil, but Ulrich sees that these ideas change depending on time, place, and circumstance. He starts to wonder, if everything people believe in is so unstable, then how can anyone be sure of anything? If love, morality, success, and even truth itself are always changing, then what should a person actually live for? These questions trouble Ulrich, but he cannot ignore them. He feels that if he simply accepts the illusions of the world, he will be betraying himself. So he begins to search. He does not know exactly what he is looking for, but he knows he must go beyond the surface of life. He must find something that is real, something that does not change depending on society's expectations or temporary emotions. He starts looking for new ways of thinking, new ideas that might offer a deeper understanding of life. But this search is not easy. The more he looks for answers, the more complicated everything seems. Every idea, every philosophy, every belief system has its own contradictions. Even science, which is supposed to be based on logic and facts, cannot fully explain human existence. A mathematical equation can predict the movement of the stars, but it cannot tell a person what to live for. Ulrich is trapped between two worlds. On one side, there is the society he lives in, full of illusions, rules, and traditions that he cannot fully believe in. On the other side, there is the unknown, something deeper, something more real, but something he has not yet found. He is in between, uncertain, lost in thought, moving through life without a clear direction. His search is only beginning, but already he feels that the answers he seeks will not come easily. Ulrich's life continues in the same uncertain way. He attends meetings for the parallel campaign, listens to debates, observes the people around him, but he feels no real connection to any of it. He is surrounded by clever individuals, politicians, philosophers, scientists, artists. Yet their ideas do not satisfy him. They talk about great things, but their words feel hollow. One day, Ulrich receives unexpected news. His father has passed away. Although they were never particularly close, this event forces Ulrich to deal with something he has avoided for a long time. His family. He has been living in his own world, focused on ideas, theories, and observations, but now he must return to something more personal. His father's death brings back old memories, old responsibilities, and most importantly, it brings him back to his sister, Agath. Agath is a woman in a difficult situation. She is married, but her marriage is empty. She does not love her husband, and she feels trapped in a life that does not belong to her. Like Ulrich, she is searching for something more, something deeper, but she does not know what it is. When Ulrich and Agath meet again after many years apart, something unexpected happens. There is an immediate understanding between them. Unlike the people Ulrich meets in Vienna, who seem artificial, controlled by social expectations, Agath is different. She is honest in her doubts, open in her confusion. She does not pretend to have all the answers, and that makes her more real to Ulrich than anyone else. At first, their conversations are about practical things, family matters, their father's estate, legal documents, but soon they begin discussing deeper subjects. They talk about their childhood, their experiences, and their dissatisfaction with the world. Agath tells Ulrich about her marriage, how she feels disconnected from her husband, how life feels like a series of meaningless routines. Ulrich listens and realizes that she is experiencing something very similar to what he feels. For the first time, Ulrich is speaking to someone who truly understands him. With Agath, he does not need to explain himself, does not need to pretend to be interested in things that do not matter to him. He feels a sense of closeness that he has never felt with anyone else. As they spend more time together, their connection grows stronger. They begin exploring ideas that go beyond ordinary life. They talk about love, morality, existence. They wonder if it is possible to live outside of society's rules, to create a different way of being. They dream of a world where people do not simply follow routines, but instead live in a state of deeper awareness, of true understanding. This new bond changes something in Ulrich. He has spent his life feeling distant from people, observing them as if from the outside. But with Agath, that distance disappears. She is not just another person trapped in illusions. She is a reflection of his own search. Being with her makes him feel that perhaps meaning is not something to be found in books, in philosophy, or in politics. Maybe meaning exists in something much simpler, much more personal. A deep connection between two people who see the world the same way. But this relationship is not simple. They are brother and sister, and society has strict rules about what their bond should be. Yet, what they feel goes beyond normal sibling affection. It is something rare, something neither of them has ever experienced before. It is not just love, not just friendship, but something deeper. A sense that together, they have found what they have been searching for. Ulrich does not know what to do with these feelings. He has spent his life questioning the rules of society, but now he faces a question that is not theoretical. It is personal. If he follows his emotions, he will be stepping outside of everything that is considered normal. But if he ignores them, he risks losing the only real connection he has ever felt. For the first time, Ulrich is not just searching for meaning in ideas. He is searching for meaning in another person. And that makes everything far more complicated. Ulrich and Agath continue to spend time together, deepening their conversations and exploring ideas that no one else seems to understand. They are not interested in the practicalities of life, money, work, or social responsibilities. Instead, they focus on something much harder to define: how to live in a way that feels true and meaningful. They both feel that ordinary life, with its routines and expectations, is empty. But if life is empty, then what can replace it? Ulrich has spent years trying to find an answer through philosophy and logic. He has read countless books, listened to intellectual discussions, and studied different ways of thinking. Yet none of these have given him what he is looking for. Agath, on the other hand, has lived a more emotional life. She has experienced the disappointment of love, the feeling of being trapped in a meaningless marriage, and the quiet suffering of a woman forced into a role that does not fit her. She does not approach life like a scientist or a philosopher. She approaches it with feeling, with intuition. Together, they begin to imagine a new way of being, They wonder if it is possible to live outside of the rules of society, not in a rebellious way, but in a way that is free and true. Could they create their own meaning instead of accepting the one given to them? Could they live in a state of pure understanding, where life is no longer a series of empty rituals but something deeper, more connected to the world itself? Ulrich starts to believe that he and Agath can create something different, something rare. He calls this idea the other condition, a state of being that is outside normal life, outside logic and structure. In this state, there are no obligations, no expectations, no artificial limits. People are not defined by their jobs, their roles, or the rules of morality. Instead, they exist in a kind of pure awareness, a state where every moment is meaningful and nothing is just routine. But this idea is difficult to turn into reality. Society is built on structure. People have roles, rules, and responsibilities. To live outside of this is not just unusual, it is almost impossible. And there is another problem as well. The bond between Ulrich and Agath is not just intellectual. It is deeply emotional, even romantic. They feel closer to each other than they have ever felt to anyone else. But as brother and sister, they are supposed to keep their relationship within clear, acceptable limits. The love they feel for each other, the intensity of their connection, is not something society allows. This creates a great conflict within them. They do not want to be like everyone else. They do not want to pretend to be interested in ordinary life. But at the same time, they are afraid of what it means to step completely outside of social norms. If they allow their relationship to develop in the way it seems to be going, they will become outsiders. They will have no place in the world. But if they try to suppress what they feel, they will lose the only thing that has ever felt real. They try to experiment with their idea of the other condition. They imagine ways to remove themselves from the world of expectations. They spend long hours in deep conversation, walking through the countryside, exploring moments of stillness and connection. They want to see if it is possible to exist in a pure state of feeling and awareness, free from the limits of everyday life. But there is a constant tension. The more they search for this perfect way of living, the more they realize how difficult it is. The world does not stop for them. The responsibilities of life do not disappear just because they want them to. People expect things from them, friends, family, and society as a whole. And deep inside, they are also unsure. Is it really possible to live outside of the world's rules? Or is this just another illusion, another idea that will eventually lead to disappointment? As they struggle with these questions, time continues to move forward. The outside world is changing, and they cannot stay in their private world forever. They must decide whether to continue searching for something that might not exist or to return to the life they once knew. Even if it feels empty, their connection has given them something extraordinary, something that most people never experience. But it has also made them question everything, including themselves. And in this questioning, they find themselves standing on the edge of an unknown future. Ulrich and Agath continue to drift away from the world they once knew. Their conversations grow deeper, and their days are spent in a kind of dreamlike state, as if they have stepped outside of time itself. They no longer care about the concerns of everyday life. The expectations of work, society, and even personal ambition seem meaningless to them. What matters now is their search for a new way of living, a way that is not defined by duty or tradition but by a deeper understanding of existence. Yet, this search is filled with uncertainty. They know what they do not want, but they do not know what should replace it. They reject the emptiness of modern life, but they struggle to define what a truly meaningful life would look like. Every idea they discuss seems brilliant at first, but then, over time, it begins to feel like just another illusion. They wonder if meaning itself is something that cannot be found, only created, and if every attempt to define it will eventually fade into nothing. At times, they feel an overwhelming sense of freedom. Without obligations, without the constant pressure of expectations, they feel lighter than they ever have before. They begin to understand that most people live according to patterns they never question. Wake up, work, obey the rules, repeat the cycle. Ulrich and Agath have broken free from that, and in doing so, they have discovered something rare. They have moments of pure awareness, where they see the world without labels or limits. But this freedom is also dangerous. The more they separate themselves from society, the more disconnected they feel. They are no longer part of the normal world, but they have not yet found something solid to replace it. It is as if they are standing in an open space with nothing to hold on to. This uncertainty begins to weigh on them. A life without clear direction can be thrilling, but it can also be unsettling. They begin to wonder if true freedom is even possible. Their relationship also becomes more complicated. The connection between them is undeniable, but it is also something that cannot be explained in simple terms. It is not just love, not just understanding, not just intellectual companionship. It is all of these things and something more. They feel closer to each other than they have ever felt to anyone. But the nature of their bond is unclear. In the eyes of society, they are siblings and should behave as such. But in the private world they have created, they feel like two parts of the same soul, drawn to each other in a way that goes beyond ordinary relationships. This closeness brings both joy and fear. They are afraid of losing what they have, afraid of returning to a life that feels dull and empty, but they are also afraid of where their path might lead. If they continue to live in this dreamlike state, detached from the real world, will they eventually lose themselves completely? If they give in to the deep emotions between them, will they be crossing a line that can never be uncrossed? As these questions haunt them, the world outside continues to change. The Austro-Hungarian Empire is on the verge of collapse, and history is moving forward with unstoppable force. There are political tensions, social unrest, and the slow but steady breakdown of old structures. While Ulrich and Agath have tried to ignore these things, they cannot remain separate forever. The world does not wait for anyone. No matter how much they wish to escape from it, their time together begins to feel like a fragile illusion, something that exists only because they have refused to face reality. The more they try to hold on to it, the more uncertain it becomes. They are searching for something that might not exist, trying to create a world outside of history, outside of rules, outside of logic. But reality has a way of pulling people back, no matter how far they try to run. As their days continue, they find themselves standing at the edge of a choice. Do they continue down this uncertain path, knowing that it may lead to nothing? Or do they turn back and accept the world as it is, even if it means losing the freedom they have found? They do not have an answer, and the more they think about it, the more impossible the decision seems. Their search for meaning has brought them to a place where meaning itself feels like an illusion, and now they must decide whether to keep searching or to let go. Ulrich and Agath continue their days in an almost timeless world, where the outside noise of society feels distant. They live as if they have stepped out of history, creating a private existence where only their thoughts, emotions, and ideas matter. It is a life free from the pressures of ambition, duty, and expectations. But this freedom is delicate. It is like a dream that could disappear at any moment. Their conversations grow more intense, reaching deeper into the nature of life, love, and meaning. They speak about how society creates false values. People chase money, power, and status, believing these things will give them happiness. But in the end, none of it truly satisfies. Most people do not question the way they live. They simply follow what others have done before them. But Ulrich and Agath see through this illusion. They have stepped away from ordinary life, and from this distance, they can observe it with clear eyes. But seeing through the illusion does not automatically reveal the truth. If the world's values are empty, then what should take their place? If ambition, wealth, and success are not the true purpose of life, then what is? These questions have no simple answers. They continue searching, but the more they look, the more they realize that certainty is impossible. Agath, in particular, begins to feel the weight of this uncertainty. At times, she is overwhelmed by the feeling that everything is without direction. She longs for something solid, something she can hold on to. Even though she has found a deep connection with Ulrich, she sometimes wonders if they are simply escaping reality rather than discovering something new. She fears that their retreat from the world is not an act of freedom, but an avoidance of responsibility. Ulrich, on the other hand, remains fascinated by the idea that reality is not fixed. He believes that people do not have to live according to the rules they were born into. The world is full of possibilities, and life can be shaped in endless ways. But he also understands Agath's doubts. The search for meaning can be both thrilling and exhausting. Without something concrete to hold on to, the mind can begin to feel lost. Their relationship continues to evolve in ways that defy easy definition. They are siblings, but their bond has become something much deeper. They share thoughts and emotions in a way that feels almost beyond human experience, as if they are two halves of the same mind. Their connection is both intellectual and emotional, rational and instinctive. They are closer than they have ever been to anyone else. Yet this closeness creates its own kind of tension. They begin to sense that they are moving toward something inevitable, something they cannot yet define but also cannot avoid. Their emotions grow stronger, and their connection intensifies, but with it comes fear. Are they creating something new? Or are they stepping into dangerous territory? Are they free spirits? Or are they simply losing themselves? Meanwhile, the outside world continues its march toward collapse. The Austro-Hungarian Empire is slowly falling apart, and uncertainty spreads through society. People are anxious, unsure of what the future will bring. Political conflicts, economic troubles, and social changes create an atmosphere of instability. For most people, this is a time of fear, but Ulrich and Agath, living in their own world, do not feel this fear in the same way. They have already let go of society's expectations. To them, the fall of an empire is just another sign that all human structures are temporary, that everything people believe to be permanent will one day disappear. But even if they feel separate from history, they cannot remain untouched by it forever. The world they have tried to escape is still there, waiting, and as much as they wish to exist outside of time, they are still human, still part of a society that will not stop moving just because they wish it to. There is also another problem that neither of them speaks about directly, but both feel deeply. How long can their private world last? How long can they continue living outside of normal reality before something forces them back? Their time together feels endless, yet fragile, like a perfect moment that could vanish with the slightest change. They both know, deep down, that this cannot last forever. But neither of them is ready to face that truth. As the days pass, a quiet tension begins to grow. They have spent so much time exploring ideas, searching for meaning, and questioning everything they once believed. But now, a new kind of question is beginning to form. One that neither of them wants to ask. Have they already reached the limits of their search? Have they come as far as they can go? And if so, what happens next? The days continue to pass in a strange, almost dreamlike rhythm. Ulrich and Agath have created their own world, separated from the expectations of society. They live in a space where time does not feel real, where rules do not apply, and where nothing is certain except the closeness they share. This closeness has deepened to the point that words often feel unnecessary. Their silences are as meaningful as their conversations. It is as if they understand each other not just through language but through something more instinctive, something beyond ordinary communication. But as their bond grows stronger, so does the sense of unease. There is something about their relationship that feels almost too perfect, too complete, and that in itself is unsettling. In a world where everything is based on structure, where people have roles, rules, and expectations, what happens when two people step outside of all of that? They have freed themselves from the past, from obligations, from the ordinary way of life. Yet, freedom without direction can be dangerous. They feel as if they are floating, detached from the rest of the world, but unsure of where they are going. Agath begins to feel a deep restlessness. She has always been drawn to the idea of escaping from an empty, meaningless life. But now she wonders if escape alone is enough. What is left once you have abandoned everything? If life has no fixed meaning, does that mean nothing matters? Or does it mean that they have the power to create meaning for themselves? These questions haunt her, and even though Ulrich shares her doubts, he does not have answers. No one does. Ulrich sees Agath's growing unease and tries to reassure her. He tells her that they are on the right path, that they are exploring the most important questions in life. But she is not so sure anymore. They have pulled themselves away from everything they once knew. But she is beginning to wonder if they are heading toward something or simply drifting in emptiness. She feels something building inside her. A pressure, an anxiety she cannot explain. The problem is not just philosophical. There is something deeply emotional about it as well. The way they exist together is unlike anything she has ever experienced. They have a connection that feels beyond normal human relationships, beyond even what most people would call love. It is something larger, something that seems to dissolve the boundaries of individual identity. She has moments where she wonders if she is still herself, or if she and Ulrich have become something else entirely. This feeling of merging, of losing herself, both fascinates and frightens her. She does not want to return to the shallow, meaningless life she once lived, but she also does not want to disappear completely. She wants to hold on to something solid, something real, but she does not know what that is. The deeper she falls into this way of living, the more she feels like she is stepping into something unknown, something without a clear end. Ulrich, on the other hand, embraces this uncertainty. He has always been drawn to the idea that life should not be limited by definitions and categories. To him, this experience with Agath is proof that reality is not fixed, that human beings can live in ways that defy convention. He does not see their existence as a crisis but as an opportunity, a way to experience life in its purest form, without artificial boundaries. But even he cannot ignore the tension growing between them. There is something unresolved, something that neither of them wants to say out loud. Their relationship has reached a point where it no longer fits into any known category. They are siblings, but their bond is deeper than that. They are companions in thought, but it is more than intellectual. They are bound together in a way that feels both natural and impossible at the same time. The outside world continues to feel distant, yet its presence is still there, like a shadow in the background. The Austro-Hungarian Empire is on the verge of collapse, and the people around them are beginning to feel the weight of history. Old structures are crumbling, and uncertainty fills the air. While Ulrich and Agath have tried to step outside of time, they cannot completely escape the reality of the world around them. Change is coming whether they want it or not. One evening, Agath stands by the window, looking out at the fading light. The city below feels like another world. A world that once seemed so important but now feels distant and unreal. She wonders if she and Ulrich are truly separate from it or if they are only pretending to be. She feels a strange pull, a desire to step back into reality, but also a fear of what that would mean. Ulrich watches her from across the room, sensing the conflict within her. He knows that their time in this dreamlike existence is fragile. He does not want to lose what they have found, but he also knows that nothing lasts forever. The more they try to escape from the world, the more it seems to reach for them. They have tried to create a space beyond time, but time is still moving forward. There is no clear path ahead. They stand on the edge of something unknown, something that could either lead them to a new understanding or bring everything crashing down. Neither of them speaks, but they both feel it. The unspoken tension, the weight of their choices, the quiet knowledge that something is about to change. As the days pass, Ulrich and Agath continue to exist in their own world, separate from the expectations and rules of society. But something has shifted between them. The silence that once felt comfortable now carries a weight, an uncertainty that neither of them fully understands. They have spent so much time questioning the nature of life, morality, and meaning that they have drifted far from the world of ordinary people. Now, they find themselves in a strange place where they no longer know what is real and what is simply an illusion created by their own thoughts. Agath, who once felt free in this life outside of structure, begins to feel a growing sense of unease. She cannot ignore the fact that their closeness has taken on a new depth, one that cannot be explained by the simple bond of siblings. She and Ulrich share something that defies normal relationships. It is not just intellectual, not just emotional. It is something that feels beyond words, beyond definition. She does not know if she should be afraid of it or embrace it fully. She begins to remember the past with a new kind of clarity. The life she left behind, the marriage she escaped, and the world she once belonged to all seem distant, as if they were part of another existence. But with these memories comes a realization. Perhaps she did not truly escape anything. Perhaps, instead of breaking free from old structures, she has simply replaced them with something else, something just as confining. Before, she was trapped in an empty, meaningless marriage. Now, she is trapped in a relationship with Ulrich that has no clear shape, no boundaries, and no certainty. Ulrich, on the other hand, does not seem as disturbed by these thoughts. He continues to explore ideas, to push against the limits of human understanding. He sees their connection as proof that life is not meant to be lived in the rigid ways that society demands. He believes that people are too focused on categories, on defining relationships, on labeling emotions, on creating artificial rules for how life should be lived. To him, he and Agath have stepped beyond all of that. They have created a space where nothing needs to be named, where they can exist without labels or expectations. But Agath begins to question whether this is truly freedom or just another kind of illusion. She wonders if their search for meaning has only led them further into confusion. They have rejected the world, but what have they built in its place? She begins to feel restless, longing for something solid, something real. At the same time, the outside world is changing. The Austro-Hungarian Empire is unraveling, and the people around them are beginning to feel the effects of this slow collapse. Political tensions are rising, and uncertainty fills the air. It is impossible to ignore the feeling that everything is moving toward an inevitable end. Even Ulrich, as detached as he has tried to be, cannot completely ignore what is happening. One evening, Agath and Ulrich go for a walk through the city. It is quiet, the streets nearly empty, but there is a heaviness in the atmosphere, as if the city itself is holding its breath. They pass by old buildings, places that once seemed permanent but now feel fragile, temporary. Agath wonders if their own existence is the same. Have they built something real, or is it just another temporary moment, something that will soon disappear like everything else? Ulrich senses her unease, but does not try to comfort her with easy words. He knows that she is searching for something more, something beyond the endless questioning they have done together. He wonders if it is even possible to find real answers in a world that is constantly shifting, constantly breaking apart and reforming itself in new ways. As they walk, they reach a bridge and stop, looking down at the water below. The river moves steadily, its surface reflecting the dim light of the city. Agath watches it, lost in thought. She thinks about time, about change, about the way nothing ever truly stays the same. She wonders if she and Ulrich have been trying to escape time itself, to create a place outside of its reach. But time cannot be escaped. No matter how much they try to step outside of the world, it will always pull them back in. Ulrich stands beside her, silent, watching the same water. He does not know what Agath is thinking, but he can feel the distance growing between them. It is not a physical distance, but something deeper, something unspoken. They have spent so much time together, but now, for the first time, he wonders if they are moving in different directions. The city around them is quiet, but it is the kind of silence that comes before something happens. The kind of silence that holds an unseen tension, waiting to be broken. The days continue to pass, but something is different. The feeling that once held Ulrich and Agath together, that strange closeness beyond words, now feels fragile. It is as if they are standing on the edge of something unknown. For so long, they believed they were outside of ordinary life, free from the structures that controlled others. But now, they begin to wonder if they have only been delaying the inevitable. Agath feels this change deeply. She has spent months living with Ulrich, disconnected from the world, questioning everything, searching for meaning, but she begins to feel the weight of it all. The freedom they once celebrated now feels like emptiness. She starts to long for something real, something solid. She wonders if she has been running away from life instead of truly living it. Ulrich senses this shift in her, but he does not speak of it. He is lost in his own thoughts. He has spent his life rejecting certainty, rejecting the limits that society places on people. He has believed that a person should not be defined by a single role, a single idea. But now he begins to feel the cost of this belief. Without direction, without structure, life becomes a series of endless questions with no answers. He wonders if he has been searching for something that does not exist. The world around them is also changing. The Austro-Hungarian Empire is collapsing. Its days numbered. Political tensions are rising. The people in Vienna are uneasy. There is a sense that everything familiar is slipping away, that history is moving towards something inevitable. The Great War has left its mark, and now the future is uncertain. One day, Agath tells Ulrich that she is thinking of leaving. She does not say it directly, but he understands. She feels that they have reached the end of something. She needs to step back into the world, to find her own way. Ulrich listens, but he does not try to stop her. He knows that words will not change anything. When the day comes for Agath to leave, there is no dramatic farewell. There are no promises, no plans. She simply steps away, walking toward a future that is unknown but necessary. Ulrich watches her go, feeling something that he cannot name. It is not sadness, not regret, but a quiet understanding that this moment was always meant to come. After Agath is gone, Ulrich stays in Vienna for a while, but the city feels different. The streets, the buildings, even the air itself seems to have lost something. He realizes that he no longer belongs there. He has spent his life questioning everything, pushing against the limits of thought and existence. But now, he feels that there is nowhere left to go. He decides to leave the city. He does not know where he will go or what he will do next. For the first time in his life, he does not try to find meaning in everything. He simply walks forward, letting time carry him toward whatever comes next. The world continues to change. Empires fall, new nations rise. People continue their lives, searching for purpose in different ways. Some find answers in faith, in work, in love. Others, like Ulrich, continue searching, knowing that meaning is not something fixed but something that must always be discovered again and again. And so, Ulrich disappears into the world, just as quietly as he has lived. His questions remain unanswered, his thoughts unfinished. But perhaps that is the way life has always been. A journey without a final destination. A story without a clear ending. That's the end of the story. If you enjoyed the story, please like, share, and subscribe for more exciting tales. Check out our other videos and share your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned for the next adventure. Thanks for watching.